first day of spring, and I just wanna sing to everything that's moving, every single little thing.
Greetings, friends. Spring is in the air, and I'm absolutely loving the warmer temperatures that we're having and the drier days. All the rain that we've had here lately is so nice to see the sun for a number of days for a change. Actually, just right over here a couple weeks ago, it's dry now, but it was flooding. The water was just gushing out, overflowing from our pond and shooting on down there, and it was crazy from the amount of rain and flooding that we were having around here. And as some of you may already know, there's people living in the Nebraska area right now who are experiencing a lot of serious flooding. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. But thankfully, things are drying out and have begun to dry out, and it is so nice around here now. It's nice to see the flowers that are blooming, from the daffodils to the dandelions. They're so nice to see those things, and seeing the animals, the ducks and the chickens, just loving things being dried. Well, I don't know about the ducks, they love it being wet, but it is also nice to see all of them just moving around and expressing their characteristics in the drier temperatures, and me being able to go outside and not be soaking wet and watch them is really, really nice. But one thing that I find challenging about this time of year is the time change, the daylight savings time. It is so hard for my body to get used to the time each time that it changes. It's like as soon as I get used to the time change, it's time to change it again. And I don't know, what about you guys? What do you like? Do you like the time change? Do you not? Let me know. Because most people that I ask, both farmers and non-farmers, don't like the time change. I think they should do a poll around the country to see what people think. Do you like the time change? Are you for it, or are you for against it? And if most people are against it, why don't we just go ahead and split it halfway? Instead of changing an hour each time, just change one time for 30 minutes and then never change it again. That's my thought. And with the time change, the kids here have been having a tough time getting up, and I've had challenges waking them up each morning. There's some mornings where it's a little bit more work to get the kids awake. So I'm gonna try to use a bugle call to help them get up a little bit more this morning. Time to wake up. Wake up. Come on, wake up. Time to go, get to work. Come on, Selah, wake up.
I've been awake.
Get up, no, wake up, you're not up. Come on, Josiah. My God, is that funny? You're the early bird. You're usually always awake early, right? Well, I just remembered there's something I need to do over in the greenhouse. Let me show you. Well, as you may have seen on my way to the greenhouse here and got a glimpse of it, things are a mess. Actually, all around the farm, things are a mess, and we really need to clean up. So in the next vlog, we're gonna be doing some heavy spring cleaning. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Last year, we had the helper Ben come out and help us on the farm on a regular basis, and he's actually gonna come again and help us clean up the farm and just do a thorough spring cleaning, because things have been so messy, from things becoming a mess during the past 2 hurricanes that we had in the fall, and then over the time of just things being cold, you're not as enthusiastic about cleaning up and picking up after yourself. So we're going to be cleaning this place up big time. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And as I'm out here in the greenhouse, I do want to show you something. I got a little anxious in putting some of my plants out here in the greenhouse. Right now, our greenhouse isn't controlled. The temperature is not controlled right now. So things can get cooler and things can get hotter than they ideally should. And I brought out some of our microgreens here, and they got colder than they should have, and they just begin to drop a little bit. And that's something that I've just learned. I didn't know that if they get a little bit too cold, it didn't get freezing in here, but it got a little cold, so they're not quite as strong standing up. And as you'll see here in a minute, the microgreens that I am growing indoors, perfectly fine. They're staying strong, the temperature is controlled in there, and they look great. So just a tip for those of you who are thinking of growing microgreens outdoors, you may want to be watchful and make sure you don't put them out too soon to where it affects the crop and the harvest that you're going to get from your microgreens. So I brought these microgreens from the greenhouse in here just to see if we can get them to straighten up a little bit more. As you can see here, the ones that have been here in the grow room, they're much stronger and the stems are more sturdier and stable. So hopefully those will straighten up as well without having to deal with some of the lower fluctuating temperatures that have been happening in the greenhouse. And right here is Lacie is working on one of our newest vlogs coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
Hey, right there.
What do we have here?
Onions.
What are you gonna do with those onions?
Give them to the ducks and the chickens.
You just love feeding the chickens and the ducks all those greens, don't you?
Yeah.
So Selah here has been actually taking the scissors and cutting grass and the wild onions that are growing and feeding them to the chickens and the ducks. And with spring just around the corner, the grass is actually starting to grow a little bit faster and actually growing now. So I actually had to use the lawnmower to go ahead and mow for the very first time, just to mow down some of the onions. But Selah here has been giving them to the chickens and the ducks, cutting them by hand.
I really like feeding these to the chickens and ducks. It just makes me happy. I don't know why.
So Lacie, how's the video coming along?
It's coming along. We moved our editing setup out here in the grow room so I could have a little more quiet space with a little less distraction so I can get it done.
So she's working in here today, but just the other day we were outside. Lacie was on the skid steer once again. We have these huge piles of mulch that we have been wanting to move so bad. And there was one that we had right where the chickens and ducks currently are that needed to be spread out and put into our food forest area in the works. And she did a great job, but let me tell you, it was quite the adventure keeping the chickens and the ducks contained.
Wanna shake the ground, wanna break away, let loose. I'm tired of waiting, gotta make that move. All the neon signs.
As Lacie was doing an excellent job scooping and dumping piles of mulch, I was trying to keep the chickens and ducks from escaping their area. But I wasn't as concerned about the chickens because once the sun sets and it gets darker, the chickens come back home. However, the ducks, if they're full and fed well, they don't like to come back to their area at night. As Lacie continued to work on moving the piles of mulch, I began to have more and more trouble keeping the chickens and the ducks inside their area. But thankfully, I got some backup. Get them in, Micah. Can you get them in? Don't chase them. Don't chase them. Hold your arms out. Can you get them in, Micah? Get them.
Mama!
Yeah.
Once Lacie finished moving a majority of the mulch, I began resetting up the fencing, while the kids helped me get all the escapees back in. For the most part, getting the chickens back in really wasn't that difficult, and I was pretty impressed with my little chicken wranglers. Everyone did a really good job. Even Micah did an excellent job for a 2-year-old.
Did you get one back in?
Yeah.
Good job. Good job, buddy.
Doing a good job, people. Doing a good job, Micah. Our biggest challenge came when Greg, our goose, and a number of the ducks got stuck in this area where there was a couple trees There was some thorns and just brush and junk, and it was hard for us to herd them out of it.
Oh, come right through there, Josiah. Go, come on.
And at this point, we were beginning to get a little frustrated. And I must confess, it was a little intense and we had a little bit of yelling. So it was time to regroup. Focus on the group. Close this fence up right here. We're gonna try to get them to go through the other side. Reason why? We got all this stuff that we're fighting against. We don't want to fight against ourselves. All right, let's go ahead and go over here and open up the other side. We're gonna get some backup this time. We're gonna let Pat. After we regrouped, for the most part, things went a lot better, and we were able to finish the job. I was even impressed that Josiah was catching ducks with his hands. He used to be afraid of them, but now he has no problem at all. Great job, buddy. Go. All right, did we get everybody? This, like many other things that we have faced in the past, had its challenges. However, working together, we got the job done. Whoa! I am glad that's over with. But now that spring is here, I know that things are going to get even more interesting, even more exciting, because there's going to be even more things to do on the farm on a regular basis. And besides, we have a lot of projects in mind that we want to do. One of those projects is one that we started last year with our wash and pack station. We poured the concrete and had begun setting up that area last year. And if you haven't seen that vlog, make sure you check it out. But we didn't get a chance to set up our walk-in cooler, and we plan to do that, so make sure you stay tuned for that video as well. And that on top of other projects that we have in mind. And oh yes, Lacey's apothecary garden. She is working on setting that up right now. She has some really neat ideas with some decorative artistic pieces that she has. So she is looking forward to sharing that with you all as well. Right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, I found some really cool looking wrought iron decorative metalwork in the trash that I pulled out, and I'm gonna turn that into something that I think is gonna be really cool. So stay tuned.
Somebody else's trash is somebody else's treasure. So you just have to be resourceful and recycle. Well, that's it for this vlog. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you all are looking forward to spring and warmer weathers and drier. Just being dry. So make sure you stay tuned for all the things that we have coming up, and we will see you next time. Grow on.
Have this feeling, haven't felt for so long. Took a hold of me and won't let go. I've been sleeping, caught me off my guard, 'cause you're in my space.